often walk alone. Who do they turn to for answers? Being male is a matter of birth, but being a man is a matter of choice. This is the dawn of something phenomenal. Fathers, sons, brothers, from the daily grind to the battles within. This is where real stories are told. A place where the silent struggles are given a voice, where the unspoken truths are laid bare. No holds barred. Brace yourself. This is Men on Record. It's more than just talk. It's a man thing.
Good evening and welcome to today's episode of Men on Record, a weekly show that delves into matters men and everything to do with men. So hoping and praying you are well and karibu to today's episode. And yes, looking forward to an amazing time as we sharpen one another, as we challenge one another, as we endeavor to be better men. Men that God created with a purpose, and also for each and every one of us to have a drive. So welcome to today's episode. We are live across all our media platforms. We are live on Hope FM. This is the station where you listen and live. Hope TV, where you look and live. And also we are live on our social media platforms. So be in touch with us, interact with us as well. You have any query, any clarification, any question you could be having, kindly do not hesitate to let us know. Engage with us through WhatsApp. That is the FM WhatsApp number 0717400555, the SMS platform 20933, and also you can get us on TV platforms. We will be getting to know more about that in a short while. So tell a man to tell yet another man. It is time for Men on Record. My name is Gichuru.
And my name is Henry Mutavi. It's always our pleasure to have you on board at such a time like today, every Friday, where we talk matters men. And today we are doing the same.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Karibu sana, Henry, and it's good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
And our friend is in
Jesse Mwai is my name.
Yeah. Awesome. It's good to see each and every one of you. And Karibu sana. Looking forward to yet another amazing episode of Men on Record. But of course, a lot happening in our country, a lot happening across the globe as well. And today, we usually say in Kenya, it's never a dull day.
It's never a dull day.
Never a dull day in Kenya. So there was some breaking news earlier in the day.
Yeah, definitely. Like today, we have a court ruling that was done by the High Court upholding the impeachment decision by the Senate upon Kawira Mwangaza. And I think this is such a blow to her.
Yeah.
And people say she has 9 lives.
9 lives.
It's a blow for her today, and even maybe for our supporters. We can't wait to see what happens after this.
But I think she could go all the way to could be to the Supreme Court.
She can still appeal, I guess.
Court of Appeal as well. So
it's still has a
another
chance.
tedious process.
It's a very tedious process.
Men and us, especially for me personally, though my team not performing so well, it was a huge week in terms of the UEFA Champions League. And so many people didn't see this coming, and especially when happened in Paris a fortnight ago. Liverpool being thrown out of the UEFA Champions League this week by PSG.
What do you mean nobody saw it?
Because they won the first leg away from home, and so heading into Anfield, and you know what they say about Anfield with the atmosphere and all, and them being beaten actually at home, that was a big one. And so the draw is now complete for the quarterfinal stage, and we have Bayern Munich taking on Inter Milan. That's a big one.
That's a good one.
Arsenal, remember they also made it quite comfortably, beating PSV 7-1 and then 2-2 on the night, but already they had qualified. They will be taking on record champions Real Madrid.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's a big one.
And then FC Barcelona will be taking on Borussia Dortmund, and PSG will be taking on surprise package package, Aston Villa. You know, that one, again, PSG, Aston Villa making it again. That one, no one saw it coming.
Yeah.
But some entertaining encounters lined up for
good
the
matches
fans.
coming up.
Yeah, a lot is coming up.
With Manchester United, my team, not being in that
in that competition. But the good thing with United, they won last night.
They
But
did,
now in the second tier, the Europa League.
We have something to
still
celebrate.
have something. We are somewhere. Anyway, so that is what's happening in as far as the week that has been is concerned. And of course, looking forward to yet another weekend full of action in terms of football. Whichever team that you support, may you support and may you enjoy to the fullest. However, let there be limits. The reason why I'm saying this as well is the topic of our conversation today, anger. That is what we are talking about this morning, or rather this evening. And is it generally a man thing, you know, to be angry? Brother, you have a brother who is angry. You have a husband who is also showing all those signs of anger. A son, you know.
As you say things, I think what comes to my mind is this could be an issue of nature, whereby man is born in sin, and therefore some of these things, until we have Christ help us take control of some of these things, we may not really have much control. And some of these things manifest even in young children. You've not taught them to manifest such kind of things. You can see a child knocking themselves. And probably as a parent, you have not taught them that. But since it's something we are born with, I think we just need to involve Christ to help us on how to deal with these issues. But we'll discuss more and see.
That is the conversation that we are having tonight.
But there are things that happen every now and then.
Awesome. Why are men angry? That is the conversation we are having tonight. And you can be part of the conversation as well. Let us know across our social media platforms, why are you angry even as a man? What triggers you? You know, what leads you into those limits? You exceed those limits. We are talking about football. You have seen people who go overboard, you know, and it's no longer a fun thing. But then again, you wonder, why is that the case? So tonight we are asking, why are men so angry? So that is the conversation of the day. Why don't we listen to what men had to say when we asked them about the same in the streets of Nairobi?
Sasa uchumi umechangia watu kuwa na hasira na kukuwa na hasira kwa mtu mwingine kwa ajili ya uchumi.
Men being angry, a huge percentage of it is also based on father wounds. So that is childhood trauma, how they were groomed up and grown up by their fathers and possibly that environment of the family. And that is where now the rubber meets the road. Some of the people who are struggling with anger issues, and most of them possibly are not able to connect with the community in a way that they should. Some of them are coming from the place of heart. Some of them are coming from the place of father wound.
Kwa hivyo hasira inategemea ile kiwango cha mtu na ile koze umekosewa. Kwa mfano, bibi yako amekukosea ama ametoka kwa nyumba na hakukwambia ameenda wapi. Ukikuja kumuuliza akujibu vibaya. Ina depend emotion ile utakuwa nayo.
Most men who are angry, they do not have a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning in life. So some of them are trying to crop in the darkness of life, and therefore anything that comes on board, that is what they hold onto. And what a worse place to be, where you are able not to connect with the world from a place of purpose and meaning. And I think those some of the things that causes some men to be angry, according to my own remark.
There you have it. You've heard what we were able to get from the streets about what makes men have anger in them. And probably you are there watching or following or listening with us. Probably you can also engage in our social media platforms and put a comment. What is it that triggers you to do probably what you do? And there's one comment that has caught my attention, that the level of anger is determined by kiwango cha ile makosa umefanyiwa. And this could be true.
Yeah, could be true.
Probably someone can maybe do something that is not worth such a reactions. But I don't know. We're going to probably for your case. What's
me,
your take?
For me, what I have taken is that gentleman who has said uchumi ni mbaya. So makasiriko imekuwa mingi sana because what you are expecting to get at the end of the day, maybe you are not able to get it. And so when you are heading back home, and also the sensitivity of the conversations. Remember, a while back we discussed matters to do with communication. So when you go back home and you have toiled and you have tried all these other things, nothing seemed to have worked. But then again, when you hit home, the reception that you are getting back at home is very much wanting, and so that also plays a part in you now getting triggered. But then again, is there a way of behaving when when things are said, when things, the way you have anticipated them to unfold, they did not unfold? Then how again do you carry yourself? Another one which is quite profound for me was also father wounds, which is a huge one as well. So when you sit back, you reflect, you remember, all of a sudden you are triggered. The unfortunate thing in all these scenarios is that the people who bear the brunt of all these things are the same people we are, as men are supposed to love, and we're supposed to take care of and to care for. And so we unleash another side that we have never seen. And so be part of the show, be part of the conversation. Tell us what really gets into your nerve as a man, that thing that really triggers you to the point of, hitting those levels of anger. But
Maybe, Gigi, we could begin with you and share an experience whereby you found yourself in such a situation. Probably something angered you, and
for me, I because I know my limits, so I try as much as I can not to speak. Because at the heat of the moment, if I speak, then I aggravate the situation. So what I try to do is sit back and first of all think through. Of course, it's very hard during that particular period, but I try as much as I can, because, again, you don't want to ruin that moment, because in as much as you are hurt, in as much as maybe you have a valid point and a valid reason, but then again, if the way you react could actually ruin everything. And so you find yourself in a much worse situation than you already were in. So I try as much as I can to contain myself. Again, as I said, it doesn't just happen. It's not easy. But then again, it's something that you have to develop. Because remember, you're still a human being. But then again, you first of all think, so what are the repercussions? If I behave this way, if I utter this word, a word uttered, you can never recover.
And I think for me, in most cases, I also find myself going silent, and probably Rev will be helping us. Maybe sometimes it leads to hurting someone emotionally, but I find myself keeping quiet and just reflecting and thinking through how can we come out of this. And in such scenarios, sometimes I find myself sweeping some things, and because I'm one of those people who don't like confrontation. So I don't know it's nature or what, but everyone has a way of reacting. Sometimes people smash things, others walk away. So I think, Rev, you can give us some perspective.
Yeah, I think maybe also where to start from, guys, is that anger in and of itself is actually not bad, because even God, it's one of the attributes that we find with God, especially where sin is concerned. God, was angered, God got angry. And anger is one of those emotions that is really part of us as, humanity. But properly channeled, healthy anger, what we call righteous indignation or righteous anger, when it is channeled in the right place, then it's actually productive. For example, like we get angry at injustice. We get maybe you see a child probably being mistreated, you get angry. I mean, you're supposed to get angry. If you don't get angry, there's something wrong with you. We're supposed to get angry at some things. Injustice, sin. And those kind of things. So there's a healthy but that kind of anger is supposed to lead you to a proper response to the thing that is actually angering you. All right, not it's not a destructive kind of an anger.
Yes.
The problem, of course, we are fallen human beings. Is sin. We are being corrupted. So what we are discussing, I think today, and what we are pointing out is that anger now got bad. That anger that is unrestrained.
Yes.
The anger that is now destructive, and I think that's what we are really
Yes, that is what
focusing
we're looking
on.
at, yeah.
That anger that yes, it may have been legitimate that I got angry at this particular situation, but then my response only caused more harm.
Yeah.
You know, and like you were also mentioning that, and the kind of anger that we also talk about, like with men, is the anger where we end up hurting our loved ones. You know, in these days, I may not have been physically abusive,
Yeah.
but emotionally abusive. Like what Henry is saying, you know, because you're angry, maybe at your spouse, you go mute,
Yeah.
right? Basically, that's passive aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
Because you're angry,
Yeah.
so you turn that anger inward. But in that being quiet, it has consequences. You actually end up hurting your loved ones.
Yeah.
Because remember, I think we discussed this a while back. You know, why I'm men silent. It's one of the reasons, because I'm angry. So I decide, and when you get
going
angry,
mute.
you cut somebody off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is very painful. And the problem is, it can actually go on for a very long time.
Yeah, because actually the question now is, yes, I don't want to hurt them. You
Yeah.
go mute. You are not communicating.
Yes.
And so your wife is actually worried.
Yes.
What is he thinking?
What is he thinking?
We are-
What's going on here?
Yeah, what's
or even
going-
your child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, even, Daddy, Kwani.
Yeah.
What's
Say
wrong?
something.
Yeah, and some people go mute. Some people act out angrily, say words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Words like you mentioned.
Yes.
Once that word has left your mouth, even if you apologize,
Even if you reconcile, in as far as
bro,
that
let me
matter
tell
is
you,
concerned.
yes, that word went out, and it can be very
Yeah,
damaging.
yeah.
That person may never forget that word. Even though they forgive you, there's something about words, power of words.
Yeah.
Let me give you you know what, at one season when my daughter was much, I love my daughter. I mean, I really love her to death. I mean, so when she was much younger, so I noticed a certain trend that I had, you know, and so whenever she will come home, of course, she wants me to help her with her homework and everything and what have you. And of course, you know, she's a child, she's learning. Of course, she will have little struggles here and there with you know, maybe mathematics and stuff. But I notice it will trigger me. You know, like when I'm trying to help her, and I'm wondering, why can't she just get this?
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah.
Yes, and then I noticed that I was reacting angrily to her. So, what that then will do is that it will cause her even to kind of withdraw a little bit much more, and then she becomes more fearful of me. And then one day it just hit me, and I asked myself, why am I so angry?
Yeah.
Why do I love my child? Why am I doing? I mean, she's a child. Why
Yeah.
am I reacting the way I'm reacting? Why am I being so hard on her? And I think for me, when I came to that realization, I remember later, so I just called her, and she was much younger, and I actually had to apologize. I said, you know what, I'm sorry. I know this has been happening. I've reacted in a bad way. I've no excuse for it. I'm really sorry. And by the amazing thing with me was that when I did that, I just felt this release in my heart, and that was the last time I actually. Like, you know, experience that kind of anger where she was concerned.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about sometimes even big things. Sometimes it can be even those little subtle things where your wife asks you something and you explode. You know, like we're saying, some people are like a gas lamp. You know, it just
You are just waiting.
poof.
Yeah.
You keep exploding. You know, you exploded people. You're not polite. You're not gentle. You know,
Yeah.
the way you look at them, the way you react. You know. And then what you don't realize is that you're actually hurting the very, very people.
Yeah, yeah.
And then in that environment, in the home, you find this emotional abuse, where your children are concerned, where your wife is concerned, or maybe even where your colleagues are concerned, and they actually feel emotionally abused.
Yeah.
You know, and that hurt is as real as somebody who is being physically abused. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I feel that is even worse
Yes.
than physical.
Yes.
And it can take a toll on someone. Then, Rev, having mentioned that, could there be some underlying issues
Yes.
that you have not dealt with
Yes.
to the point now that the slightest of triggers, they lead you to explode?
Exactly. And I think, you know, in the banter that we're listening to, I think that's part of it. You know, those guys were saying, for example, like emotional, maybe you were emotionally abused also as a child. You know, those triggers and traumas that maybe you went through, the traumas that you went through, the father wounds maybe that you went through. One of the biggest ones I've realized is, you know, the way some of us sometimes also grew up in the African setup, where you did not have permission to express your true feelings
Oh, yeah.
in the family.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you are there to be seen and not to be heard. So even if you were treated unjustly,
You couldn't,
right?
yeah.
You couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
In fact, saying anything or looking, not even saying, just looking like your facial expression looking like you're likely to suggest that you disagree. You remember how it was? Like, I mean, you could get a slap across your face. I realized that in itself, that suppressed emotion sometimes can actually lead to suppressed anger later in life. Because there's a certain sense in us, when you oppress me long enough, I want to explode.
Yeah.
When you push me down, when I feel like I'm not able to express myself, what happens is that I that suppressed anger on the inside begins to manifest in other areas, in other ways, and I may not even know what way that is coming from. Or like somebody mentioned, father wounds, the wounds that I suffered, like maybe when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But again, also, times are hard. Somebody mentioned economy.
Yeah, economy.
And I think what maybe that person was also alluding to was the fact that as a man, I'm expected to deliver.
Yeah.
Then a man, you go out there, things are tough. I mean, but then you come home, the needs are still there. And they expect you have a bunch of children, you have a wife, need to pay rent, you need to pay school fees and whatever. And you actually feel that nobody understands, you feel alone in this world, you feel the economy is difficult. So, and then you have no idea who to get angry at.
Yeah.
So you know what happens? You end up unleashing that anger on the closest, the most vulnerable people around you.
Yeah.
So you may be angry at the government, you're angry at the economy, you're angry at your employer, you're angry at everything else. But because you cannot lash out to them,
Yes.
who do you lash out to? The people at home.
And we have cases in the recent past, especially in Kenya. We've had so many cases of femicide, whereby you find men, and most of these cases have been done by men, whereby men have turned against their loved ones and took away their lives. Probably what could be driving this, because it's been so rampant in Kenya, especially in the recent past.
I think it's a sign of unresolved anger issues. I think in many men. It's amazing that a lot of times you'll even find those people who end up killing somebody else, maybe in a moment they did not even premeditate it, by the way. It's not something that I planned, I'm coming to. Of course there are those ones, but there are those ones who it was in the spur of the moment. Like right there, something happened, sparked me, triggered me. I hit this person in a way that cost them their life. Or I just did something that was so violent, or not even, maybe even physical like that. I'm driving. Right? I'm just driving on the road and road rage. And then I caused an accident and people died in the process. And sometimes when you interact with people, who end up sometimes in the prison system, maybe because of that, they're full of regret. Because they will tell you, I did not mean, I loved my wife. I did not set out to kill them. But sijui kulienda aje hapa. And sometimes they cannot explain that moment, which was so fleeting. But a lot of times it's because of those underlying unresolved issues. And then again, I think to a large extent, maybe you guys may have a different opinion, it is because a lot of us as men, when we were growing up as boys, we were never trained on how to handle emotions, and especially strong emotions. Because remember, like I said, when you're always being suppressed, that you're a man. Men don't cry.
They don't.
Now
They
that,
don't
and
show
maybe at that
emotions.
moment the appropriate response will have been, for me, I've just lost somebody, or maybe I've gone through a very hurtful moment, and my natural response is, the natural human response will have been, let me cry. Isn't it? But you're no, men don't cry. I mean, you're and then you're always being compared to, why you behave like a girl.
In fact, Rev, on the same, this week my son, there is something that was happening, and he was somehow getting emotional. Then I think he remembers that statement that you are a man, you should be strong. So he turns to me and says, Dad, I am a man. I am not going to cry.
Yeah.
And it hit my mind that why is it boy
Yeah.
saying this? Does it mean that he's not supposed to express his emotions
Exactly.
at that young age?
Yeah, because that is what has been instilled. Even now,
Yes,
yes.
unless we teach our children
Yes.
that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
It's
okay.
okay
yeah,
to-
it is okay.
It's okay to
It is okay.
cry.
It's okay to
Yeah.
not be okay.
Yes.
It's okay to express your emotions.
Yes.
Because when you are happy, you express your happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So equally, when you are sad,
When you're hurt,
when you
you're
are
hurt.
hurting,
Yeah.
you express that indeed I am hurting. And then another thing I also feel has led to some of these other things is also as men, and especially of a certain generation, we were not also taught how to handle what is it called, rejection.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
if maybe it's dating and courtship and I approach this girl,
You're right.
she can't say yes. She
Yeah.
actually can say
Yes.
no.
Yeah.
So if she says no, how then do I
How do I
carry
handle
myself?
that?
How do
Yeah.
I handle that rejection?
Yes.
You see,
Yes.
because I remember
Yes.
there was a
Yes.
case of this gentleman. You remember that case of a gentleman who traveled
Yeah, all the way to Eldred.
all the way
Yes,
to Eldred,
Yes. Yes.
and he hacked this young girl to death just because she had turned him down. So equally, it's important as well, even as we are bringing up our children, especially our boys, that you know what, it's not given that.
and I think, Gigi, what you're saying is
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
I think also in a society, and again also in the African context, where, let's be honest, sometimes females, girls, are deemed to be, like less than boys for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes, maybe unwillingly, there's a notion that is passed on to young men as we are growing up that, women are there for you. So if you approach a girl, she cannot say no. I mean, you're supposed to dominate them. I mean, she's who is she to say no to you? She's not supposed to say no to you. And that is why sometimes, so we are not taught. We don't sometimes maybe teach these young men that, you know what, these girls are your equals. Let's not actually begin there. It's just that different gender, but they're your equals. Which means that they also have a mind of their own, and they should be allowed also to make up their own mind. So if you approach a girl, respect her. In fact, just that whole thing of respect and honor, especially for for females, that if she says no to you, she's entitled to her opinion. All right, and you should not force yourself on her. Don't be too aggressive with her. Respect. If anything, as a man, you should be able to protect her because she's a weaker vessel according to the Bible. And maybe just that lack of that kind of being socialized in that way. So a young man, a girl says no, and what is your first reaction? Anger. Unrestrained anger. So much so that if you say no to me, then you cannot say yes to another person. So they end up killing them, unfortunately. And that's a big deal. And I think it's something that we as a society really need to rethink through. Because like you said, you mentioned, Henry, that cases of femicide is actually the culprits are the men.
Thank you so very much as well for your interaction across our social media platforms. We are asking, why are men angry? That is the question we are asking this evening. Lynette Wanjiru is tuned in. Davy Zatundo, could it be that as a man I carry so much within and I don't know how to release issues in bits? So you pile up to the point now that even the slightest of triggers, you explode.
And I think that's what we were saying.
Yes.
Have we been taught? Have we been socialized how to deal with what is going on the inside? So if I'm frustrated, have I been taught that it's okay to be frustrated?
Yes.
But how do I deal with it? Instead of just piling everything, then one day I blow up.
It's better when you are dealing with it ASAP. As opposed to now piling issues up. It's better you deal with one issue at a time.
Than to wait for it and once so much has
now
accumulated,
unleashing.
Then you unleash it.
Chisengo Enoch says, how I manage anger. I like this analogy. I'm bigger than anger. I house it, and so I strive to be above it. Number two, I always pause before I respond. And that is what we are saying. First of all, think through,
Yes. Yes.
what am I about to say? What am I about
Exactly.
to do? Marcus Keith, inspired by Psalm 23. Thank you so much. Shisiali Slater is also tuned in. Brain Prize, I'm also following. Thank you very much. Very true. When you are hurt, sometimes it's good to cool down first before you act. Hasira Hasara. Indeed, that is quite profound. Keep interacting with us, and we will be sampling those comments as we continue with the show. How do you, as a man, handle anger issues? Because yes, and we have been told even the positives of anger. You are angry when things are not going the way they ought to be going in as far as matters injustice are concerned. But then again, when it comes to dealing with people, how then do you behave? How do you act? Talk to us across our social media platforms, on WhatsApp as well, 0717 400 555. That's on FM, and on TV, 0708 222 323. We are taking a short commercial break, and then we continue with our conversation of the day.
I've actually been trying to find a balance. It's been really tough and hectic, but everyone says once you get a hang of it, it becomes better, and I don't know, but I'm hoping to find a balance soon because it's really been hectic. But you've been in the job industry for a long time, so I think you would know better. Sindio?
Huh? What time is it? I need to catch up on Leadership Forum. Do they have a radio here? Never mind. I brought my own.
No way. You can't be serious. Wait, why do you have a radio and you can just catch up with the shows on Hope FM podcasts?
Really? Even Meet of the One?
I mean, you can find them on whatever platform, name it. AfriPods, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it.
But I'm not subscribed on any of them.
Oh, no worries. You can just check out the latest episodes on hopemediakenya.org.
You can now listen to select Hope FM programs on your favorite podcast streaming platform or directly on our website, www.hopemediakenya.org. Listen and live.
Rafiki soul is the promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond watangaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki msoul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
This is Men on Record. Thank you so very much for your company. And today we are looking at men and anger. Why are men angry? That is the question we are asking. And also, as a man, how do you handle anger issues? Also, if you're watching and you're a lady, how does he handle anger issues? And thank you so very much, a number of people getting in touch with us. When we have an issue with my hubby, he always turns the blame on how I have reacted instead of what made me react. All right. So that is one there as well. Looking at it as well, I see this is who. This is Lawrence, tuned in from Angara Market, listening to the station as well and listening to the show. Yeah, for him, the issue he has is with the timings. Anasema 1 hour ni kidogo sana, but of course, thank you. Feedback is
That's
home.
good feedback.
Yeah, good feedback. Men anger issues. Now, men in their nature form, or the men in their nature form, they tend not to share their burdens or emotions to others. This is simply because they fear what will others say, or the reactions, or sometimes they fear when they tell someone, they will go and gossip, hence it might affect his reputation. So as a result of suppressing these emotions and burdens, it becomes super overwhelming, and in itself, it tries to find a way out. But because men keep on holding back, it creates a synopsis of reactions, and mostly these reactions express itself in the form of anger. That's my thinking. Cheers. Thank you, Engineer Collins.
Very true. Very good.
Yeah,
I mean,
very-
very insightful comments there. Yeah, but you know, but it is true, and I think one of the biggest problems that what is also coming out is that when we don't validate our emotions, when those emotions are not validated, you know, I'm hurt, but nobody, especially when we're growing up, you know, I'm hurting, but it's not validated, or I'm upset, it's not validated. In fact, if anything, I'm castigated for feeling anything that is considered to be inappropriate, you know. So I think those are the things that sometimes cripple us emotionally as men, so that now we don't even know how to, because there's something on the inside that is crying on the inside that I need validation, like I'm here. I mean, you know, so the only way for me to get that attention, get that validation, is actually getting angry. You know, and by this time, of course, sometimes we lose our temper. Not because we want to lose it, you know, but because of that inner frustration, that inner bit, you know. And then, like we were mentioning earlier, that sometimes the repercussions are huge.
Yeah, they are.
There are people who have ended up in prison because in a spur of a moment. And by the way, you guys know, I mean, in a spur of a moment, you can do something because you just lost your temper. And you end up killing somebody. You're doing something, broad rage, or you pick a knife and then you plunge it into somebody, you pick a stone and throw it into somebody, you know, and what have you. You did not intend, you had absolutely no intention of doing that kind of harm, but it is done. And of course, you know, the law does not know that you got angry.
Catches up with you.
And you end up doing time for decades. You're in prison because of something that you did in the spur of a moment. You did not even plan to do it. So that basically also means it is important for us then to learn to manage. Anger will always be there in us, isn't it? So we are not saying that the anger is wicked, is wrong. It's not a demon.
No.
It's there. The tricky part about it is, how do I manage that anger? I think that's the biggest question.
Yeah, because someone is asking here, and I think we can camp a little bit on this one so that also we get to expound on it. The key focus should be, that is what they are posing, the key focus should be, what is the cause of anger? Sometimes there are things that provoke men to get angry. However, having said that, I don't think we can justify some of the things.
What the contributor is saying, him is talking about the symptoms. He's talking about the triggers.
The triggers,
but we want to go deeper than that. It's not about what triggers me. There will always be triggers. The problem is not what triggers me to be angry. Let's be honest, guys. There will always be something that will make you angry, that will trigger you. But the problem is not so much that I get angry. The problem is, what do I do with that anger?
With that anger.
Like I said, there are things that, for example, if I see an injustice being done, it is a trigger.
You
And I
raise
get
an-
angry.
yeah.
I'm thinking, no, this is not.
Should not
this
happen.
is actually not. This
Yep.
is not right. Why did you do that? Or why are you treating that person that
Yeah.
way? That's a trigger. But, and that's a good way to react to that kind of a situation. But if I overreact, I allow anger to take over, then now I am no longer in charge of what I am doing.
Yeah.
I end up hurting people. I
Yeah.
call people names, maybe even become violent
Yeah.
or whatever. That is where the problem comes in. And usually, when it gets there, it means that there are underlying issues. Which we have already said a lot of times is because of invalidated emotions. Because when I was growing up, my emotions were never validated.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe because of further wounds, or it could be maybe triggers and traumas that I experienced as I was growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And that's where we should actually be. And that's what I think that's where the problem actually comes in.
Yeah. Can we address this one as well? Because I think it's important. Whereby this one, it's a lady, and she says, when we have an issue with my hubby, he always turns the blame on how I have reacted instead of what made me react.
And I think that it goes back again to what we were saying, that sometimes for example, when we were growing up and maybe you react in a certain way, you are upset, and then what have you, those emotions were never validated.
Yeah.
So so maybe this particular husband, because of that background, so when he sees certain reactions, maybe from his spouse, he also wants to invalidate those emotions. So the problem now is no longer what we are talking about or what we are fighting over or what we are disagreeing over. Is how you reacted.
The how.
Yeah. But one thing I have learned, I think, with time, you can never control how somebody reacts over a certain situation.
Sometimes it just comes
it just comes naturally. So if, for example, with your loved ones, and maybe you do something, and I know you're not doing to intentionally hurt them, but they get hurt. All right? They get upset. And I think all of us have gone through that.
True.
I did not mean to do whatever, maybe out of misunderstanding. And that person says, I am actually hurt. You hurt me when you did this or you said this. My reaction should not be that that's something small. Why are you getting angry? You get, when I do that, I invalidate the emotion. I think the thing to do and have learned over time is to say, you know what, I didn't mean to hurt you, but because you got hurt, I am truly sorry. That was not my intention. I am, instead of invalidating the fact that they got hurt, I validate that emotion and just say, I acknowledge that you actually got hurt. And people feel good when you validate what they're actually feeling at that particular moment. And then when you validate it, usually that person feels they feel present, they feel understood, they feel that oh, you actually care enough. And then now you apologize and explain yourself. You know, and that person, you'll find it becomes easier for them to actually relate with you and trust you. Because now they know, oh, this person truly cares. But if I jump and start saying, I mean, why are you getting upset? What's wrong with you? Why did you get upset? They tell you then is, come on, you can't be serious. You're being oversensitive, blah, blah, blah. What you're actually doing, you're actually adding more hurt. Isn't it?
Sure. And so, Rev, now the big question would then be, there could be someone who feels like it's like a demon, because sometimes it manifests in such a way they can't even tell, and some of them find smashing screens and banging doors, or probably just going away and probably driving in rage. So someone is asking probably, how do I manage this? Because this has been a tall order.
If it gets to that point, and as I say this with all due respect, where you find yourself, you know, like physically you're shaking, you're trembling, you can't even talk, you're sweating, and you begin maybe even breaking things around you and war unto anybody who is around you at that particular moment. I you know, that is a sign of some very serious emotional issues that you have. And I will actually say, with all due respect, you may need to get some professional therapy. You may need to get, before you do something that you will not be able to undo. If you get to a place where you actually completely lose your temper, you cannot control yourself, even physically, you find yourself, I mean, that is serious. I would actually recommend strongly get some professional therapy, therapists to actually be able to help you so that you can come out of it. You can be able to learn to better manage, that particular anger when it gets to that particular point. Because remember also, if we don't learn also how to manage our anger, remember there are also physical consequences. Sometimes we develop high blood pressure, all kinds of things.
Depression.
Yes, you can actually, by the way, you can also go into mental health issues. You can actually also go into depression because you're not managing your anger very well. Because they say depression is anger turned inward. That's what I've heard. I'm not a psychologist, but that's what I was told. All right, so they're physical, whatever, they're mental issues you can actually develop. Of course, you can be sure that relationally it's going to destroy your relationships, obviously. Even the people that you love, people begin kind of pulling away from you because they can't trust you.
They can't relate to
even
you.
at your workplace.
Yes.
If you don't contain yourself, yourself and your emotions and all, and you're showing everyone, you become a threat.
You become
to
a
the
threat, and
organization,
everybody.
And of course, the easiest way is to get rid
People
of you.
avoid you. Yeah, eventually they can actually
get rid of you.
Spiritually also, it will definitely affect you because you will probably end up doing stuff you ought not to be doing, things you will not be proud of. Maybe calling people names and just doing things that are completely out of character. So it has so many repercussions that it is only wise for us to, as like we're having this discussion, to find ways. How do I manage that particular aspect of anger?
Allow me to go back to what an engineer who is watching us highlighted in terms of men and not opening up and not sharing what they are going through, and actually leads us to some of these actions that are unfortunate. How then, Rev, can we be able to get someone that I can easily come to you as a friend, and I can confide in you, you know what, brother to brother, this is what I'm going through. And I feel it's taking a toll on me. Before things escalate, how can I handle the situation?
We I think it's something we normally say, that it's important for a man to find another man or a group of men where you guys can learn to talk to one another. But I'm a man, you guys are men, and you identify with this. It's not always easy to find that, is it?
Isn't.
I think for me, I've come to realize
issues.
you really have to. We have trust issues because men, like I always say, men, we are naturally egocentric. So even when I hang out with Gigi and Henry, I want to look like I'm good. I want to look like I'm handling my business.
You are very careful what information to
exactly. So I always think that maybe there has to be a certain level of intentionality. I think with men, so that we intentionally form those kind of relationships. I think with other men, and I know of groups that are like that, or even men who have developed those kind of relationships where they're actually vulnerable to one another in a very healthy way. In a way that I can actually be able to come to Gigi and say, hey, bro, man, it's like this. I mean, this is bad. I'm struggling with this area. Things are not working out. I lost my job. I don't even know how to put food on the table. Just being vulnerable. And I know that Gigi has my back. I will not hear it elsewhere. And I know he's a guy who, if he says he will pray for me, he will pray for me. And I know that he'll be there for me. It is possible, but it takes a lot of intentionality, I think, on the part of man or of a man.
I'm thinking about it, and also we have had, even in the neighborhoods, where you hear there's a homestead, there's a home that forever it's like they are fighting. And people, especially in the modern world, we are very much, minding our own business, and so I don't want to be seen to be interfering. But hizo vitu tuliwazoea, ni hao.
Kawaida.
We have normalized, and that is what we were talking about, even escalating to GBV and all. How then, men to men, can we be able to help one another, so that when I see something is off with what Henry is doing, or Henry sees something that is off with me, he can be able to come to me and in a brotherly way call out.
And that is why now it goes back to that relationship, because again, you cannot be able to go to somebody who you don't have that kind of relationship. Because in a good relationship like that, a covenant kind of a relationship, I give you permission to speak to me. I give you permission to call me out on certain behavior. If it's just somebody who I have a casual relationship comes to me and tries to call me out on a certain behavior, I'll get offended. That's how it is. I'll think, and you're telling me that is who? I have never given you permission to do that.
Yes.
But then, if it's somebody who I have that covenant relationship, and I know they're doing it out of love, I know this guy cares about me, then I'll be able to relate.
Yeah.
And I think it's the responsibility of every man to find a man, whether it's an older man or something, but somebody who you can actually almost like get into a covenant with. You remember like David and Jonathan? That kind of a covenant, kind of a relationship where I know that I can be vulnerable to this person, and I know this person will never judge me. I know this person has my back.
Yeah.
If they see anything, they can actually call me out. And even if I get a bit defensive, but at least I know they'll be telling the truth. I can trust their judgment. I can trust them. I think it is possible, like I said, but I think it takes time. It takes intentionality.
Yeah.
And I think men, as men, I think we need that. It may not be 20 people.
Yeah.
It may not even be 5. It can even just be 1 or 2. In this life, you may just find that maybe just 1 or 2 people. Because again, you don't want to really, like, get your stuff out there. Everybody's talking about you. No. It can just be just be 1 or 2 covenant brothers who you can be able to find. Yeah.
Rev, probably taking you back a bit, can this issue of anger be generational? Are there cases whereby you can say, familia yetu tunakuanga hivyo? Can it be...
Two things.
We hear cases whereby like or a certain tribe
tribe.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. First and foremost, I think when we do that, we are just, what we are doing, we are normalizing dysfunction. The way you just want to normalize dysfunction.
Yeah.
So basically, because I said what I'm just telling you is keep off. I mean, like, hey, who are you to come and try to interfere with what we consider to be normal? But then number 2, it is possible, but in the sense that some behavior is passed on. It is a learned behavior. These are learned traits. Remember, children, as they're growing up in an environment that is filled maybe with very angry people, they pick up that behavior. This is how you... So if they grow up in a behavior, this is how we react. This is how we talk to one another. There are places you go and people tend to be very aggressive when they're talking to one another. How did that happen? Is a learned behavior.
Yeah.
So this is how I saw my father. This is how he talks to his uncle, or this is how he talks to his wife. This is how. So I learn that, and then we begin to normalize it as if it is normal behavior. Let's just put it this way: whether it is generational or not, wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
If something is off, it is off. Whether it is your family, whatever, if it is off, let's just agree it is off.
Yeah. I like what you have brought up in terms of children, the children that you are bringing up, the way they see me behave and act, with my wife. It sticks with them.
Exactly.
And that is what they will also remember.
Exactly.
And so we need to sort of like break the cycle.
Yes.
Yes, I may have gone through this. I may have experienced this growing up and everything. But is it something that I want now to inculcate into my children?
Exactly. And by the way, Gigi, and I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things when I speak to men, one of the things I challenge them, the beautiful thing about being a man, and one of the strengths of being a man, and what it really sometimes means being a man, is that as you grow up, you'll grow up around maybe dysfunction. You may grow up seeing things and what have you, but you as a man, you determine that for me, I'm not going to pass on to the next generation the things that maybe I was subjected to, the dysfunction that maybe I grew up under. Even poverty, you can actually decide, I grew up in poverty, but you know what? It ends with me. You say, I'm a man, and I want to be able to establish a different kind of a narrative for the next generation. My children will think different, will see different. And I'm not saying we'll be perfect, but I'm just saying you have to define. You may not have much to do with your past or your history, but surely God gives you the authority to decide, this is how my future is going to be. This is the way I want to raise my children.
Can you help this a gentleman? And he says, praise the Lord, the 3 gentlemen in studio. Good work. And they ask, how can I handle my wife of 31 years who is full of hatred, rejection, angry almost all the time, till she has left the house 3 times in less than 1.5 years, and yet it is not by fault at all?
I can feel that frustration. I mean, and a lot of men might actually go through that. Is it possible for them maybe to find a counselor? I mean, because sometimes I always say that that there's no problem sometimes seeking some form of intervention from maybe somebody you trust, whether it's a pastor or a professional counselor, and just and by the way, just as you have that discussion with your wife, and say, can we journey this together? You know, can we journey this can we go through this journey together? And maybe to be able to help us, can we just get a neutral party to just come and probably help us? You know, so that you also avoid the thing of it's not my fault, it's your fault, and what have you. Because the moment you go there, what usually happens, people get defensive. You know, sometimes I realize as a man, you just have to humble yourself. And ask your wife, you know what, how can I love you? How can I help you?
And that's not a sign of weakness.
No, it's not a sign, it's a weakness, it's a sign of strength.
That you want to understand them, so that you love them the way they want to be loved.
And then you say, you know, honey, I love you, you know I love you, and what of you? But it seems like maybe atupatani. Can we invite somebody who's agreeable to both of us, maybe to just come in, maybe it's a couple, and say somebody who can help us to navigate this part of our life.
And time seems to be flying so
right?
I don't know. There are so many of us so many of us who could have been in such situations whereby even at the moment as we speak, probably someone is not speaking to their spouse because of some unresolved issues. And maybe this anger is boiling in this person. Probably if you could minister to someone who is watching right now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I think it's good for us to again point out from where we started that anger is a very natural emotion that we actually all possess as human beings. But the problem is not so much the anger. The problem is anger gone wrong. When that anger goes wrong and when it goes rogue and it's uncontrolled, then it becomes destructive. It's like fire. There's nothing wrong with fire. But uncontrolled fire or fire in the wrong place at the wrong time, it becomes destructive, isn't it? It's the same thing, I think, with fire. I mean, with anger. And we need definitely to, be able to manage that anger. And maybe you're a man and maybe you're there and probably you've struggled. You don't know how to deal with your anger. You find yourself going out of control. Maybe suffering even fits of rage. Maybe you've even done certain things that you've hurt the people that you love the most. You didn't even mean to, but maybe because you're very angry and in a moment of frustration, you ended up saying stuff, or you ended up even getting violent, physically, or even you've been emotionally abusing your family. You cut them out, you shut them down, or you use very hurtful words. I want to tell you that especially as a man, because I'm speaking to men, that you have a great responsibility. And the responsibility is that as men, we're supposed to be a blessing. We are supposed to be the pillar of society. You're supposed to be the head of your home. You're supposed to be the lead in that home. And I want to challenge you that by God's grace, by God's help, it is possible for you to get to a place where you can manage that anger. There could be underlying issues. If you need help, if you need a counselor, if you need a pastor, please go ahead and do that. But take it upon yourself that you're not going to allow that anger to control your life or to control the things that you do so that you don't hurt the people around you. Finally, let me say this. If you know that there are people you've hurt because of that uncontrolled anger, anger gone wrong, please apologize to them. Whether it is your wife, whether it is your child, find a way, talk to them and ask them to forgive you. That's where healing actually begins. And I know God will meet you the rest of the way. God bless you.
Amen.
Thank you so much. And probably you're out there and you're looking for someone you can speak out to, you can open up to. You can also reach out through the numbers that we've shared with you, the WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, and we'll be able to reach out to you and connect you with someone who can be of help to you. And thank you for staying tuned and following us from the beginning to the end. We want to believe you've got a thing or two that is going to propel you to the next level.
Yeah, and far much gone, that is our time, and we need to call it a day. And so, for the record, we need to get something for the record as we are taking home for the week that is ahead. And for me, for the record, as a man, define and determine what you will pass on to the next generation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was one of my take-homes. But again, in addition, I've discovered anger can be productive.
Yes.
Not all anger should lead to destruction.
No.
And again, we should validate emotions.
Yes.
So don't just wish away If someone is portraying some kind of behavior,
Yeah.
don't wish it away. Just get to find out what it could
Exactly.
be. And again, build covenant relationships
Yeah.
where you can open up and get help when you face issues.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so very much for your time. Indeed, it has been an awesome time as we have discussed anger and how to manage the same as men. Remember, you play a critical role in the society, in the church, at your home, because you have a wife, you have children, you have siblings, even parents. And so you have a huge role to play in as far as the well-being of the society is concerned. So thank you so very much for tuning in to today's episode. If you feel there is someone, there is a gentleman somewhere, there is a man somewhere who needs to hear what we have discussed today, make sure you share this link with them so that also they can be challenged, they can be educated, informed as well. We have a number of episodes on our YouTube page, so we are hoping that you can visit our YouTube page, Hope TV Kenya, so that you can have a recap of what we have discussed right here on Men on Record. We wish you a blessed and a fruitful weekend ahead. Up until next week, my name is George Gichuru.
My name is Henry Mutavi.
Jesse Mwai is my name.
And indeed, it
This
is
is
a
Man thing.
Good night.